Big Daddy Cool Diesel is all juiced up on the wokeness because now he's crying about ABC suspending Jimmy Kimmel. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. And has there ever been such a sadder state of affairs in wrestling than what we've seen happen with Kevin Nash? Big Daddy Cool, more like Big Daddy Uncool, because unfortunately there is nothing cool about Diesel these days. Big Sexy, what about Big Dumbass? So Kevin Nash, I don't know what has happened to it. Normally when you get older, you seem to get wiser, you seem to get smarter, you seem to get more experience in the real world. And I mean, you see a lot of people when they get older. I mean, people tend to go from being liberal in their younger years, and then when they grow older they just tend to get more wiser, and they tend to become conservative. But with Kevin Nash, it seems to be the complete opposite. The older this guy gets, the more deranged he gets, the more of a lunatic he becomes. And we've seen all his like anti-Trump stuff and anti-white man stuff and anti-American stuff, where he pretty much Kevin Nash, does he ever look in a mirror, by the way? He talks about old white men. Kevin Nash, you're an old white dude. All these old white men that you attack and you think are ruining the country and ruining the world, and all these greedy old white, you're in that category, Kevin Nash. This guy talks about like the 1%. He might not be in the 1%, but let's be honest, he's a lot closer to those guys than he is to the average person. So I never really understand when Kevin Nash is coming out and trying to criticize all these like rich people. Nash, you're rich yourself, okay? You're very fucking rich. You're well off. You're not one of the people. You're not in like one of the working class. You're just not. You're Big Daddy Dumbass Diesel. So yeah, but anyway, Jimmy Kimmel was recently kicked off the air from ABC, and Kevin Nash has come out and he says that, I guess, freedom of speech no longer exists. So yeah, Kevin Nash now thinking you've got the ability to say whatever you want without the repercussions, and that's never been the case. You've always had the freedom to say whatever you want, but sometimes there can be backlash, sometimes there can be repercussions, sometimes you can be held accountable for certain words that you say or certain things that you do. So I get it, freedom of speech, to a certain extent, but there's just some things you can't do, and it looks like Jimmy Kimmel may have crossed the line, but not crossing the line into TNA. He's crossing the line into the unemployment section. So, on his show, which by the way is not funny and I don't listen to it, this is what Jimmy Kimmel had to say. He said, quote, "The MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving." End of quote. So, just pretty much straight up bullshit from Jimmy Kimmel. This wasn't joking. This wasn't freedom of speech. He's went on air and he's told his entire ABC audience that Charlie Kirk's assassin was some sort of MAGA conservative, and pretty much blaming Charlie Kirk for his own assassination, which is complete bullshit. And again, this is not freedom of speech. Just like when Stephen King came out a few days ago and he says that Charlie Kirk wanted to stone the gays to death, something that Charlie Kirk never said. And we've seen since then, Stephen King has come out and he's apologised, he's retracted, he's begging for forgiveness, he deleted his tweet, because that's not freedom of speech from Stephen King. That was just Stephen King lying. That's him trying to tarnish and smear Charlie Kirk's reputation by claiming he said something that he never did. And it's a bit similar here with Jimmy Kimmel. This is not a guy that is just giving opinion or using freedom of speech. This is a guy that is coming out and he's blaming MAGA people on Charlie Kirk's death. He's pretty much saying that Charlie Kirk is responsible for his own death, and then putting it all down to political points, which is what he is trying to do. He's the one on his show making up lies, making up false statements, making up malicious lies, to try and justify almost one of the most horrific assassinations that we've ever seen. So, this guy is an arsehole. This guy is a piece of shit. You also see him including the Trump footage, and he's like mocking the death here of Charlie Kirk, and he was using that Trump footage to try and suggest that Trump doesn't care, and that it's embarrassing what he's doing here, and he's playing up to his audience. But at the end of the day, he's trying to blame it on the MAGA conservatives and blame it on Charlie Kirk himself, when it's got nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. And it's got everything to do with this fucking lunatic, this liberal that shot Charlie Kirk and murdered Charlie Kirk. And you look at the rhetoric that we've seen directed at people like Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump and Elon Musk. How many Democrats do you see, like, continuously on a daily basis use this, like, hurtful and demeaning rhetoric and dangerous rhetoric, saying like, oh, they're Nazis, they're this, they're that, they're horrible people. And then you've got like Stephen King lying to people, saying, oh, Charlie Kirk wanted to stone all the gays, which he never said. And when these Democratic leaders, when these like liberal leaders with large followings are demeaning and trying to portray someone as a Nazi, and when they're lying and putting words in mouths that simply were not said, you're going to have these fucking crazy people that are going to act out. How many times have you seen these? I think is it Maxine Waters, where she's like, oh, you must go out in the street and fight, and you must make them feel it, and you must not be afraid to take the fight to them. And if you see them in a restaurant, then you don't let them sit there, you don't let them have peace. And it's like, what the hell? These people are inciting violence, and it's been happening for years. So if you want to blame someone, if you really want to blame someone, Jimmy Kimmel, why don't you blame the people that have been demonising the likes of Charlie Kirk and using hurtful, dangerous rhetoric against the likes of Charlie Kirk? So, you know what, Jimmy Kimmel, I'm not going to lose any sleep over this guy getting kicked off the air. How many times has he made fun of people, by the way, losing their jobs? That time when Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox, he was laughing on air, he was joking about it, he was calling Tucker all these bad names and saying that it couldn't happen to a better person, and now he's the one that gets kicked in the can. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lose any sleep over this, and people are calling this cancel culture, and I don't think so. I've heard some people call it accountability culture, and that's exactly what it is. I mean, cancel culture is when you're looking back on someone, maybe said like a mean tweet 10 years ago, or someone that's made a joke that you don't find appropriate, and you try and cancel them over it. Or if someone happens to follow someone that you don't like. I mean, people used to get cancelled over supporting Donald Trump. How fucking crazy is that? But now these same people that were happily trying to ruin people's life because they supported a political figure that they didn't agree with, or they made a joke that they didn't agree with, now they're getting upset that they're being held accountable for celebrating and mocking the death of someone. You know, these people are fucking sick. So it's not cancel culture. It's being held accountable for your horrible actions. So yeah, Kevin Nash says he'll never watch ABC again. Who gives a shit? Who cares what's on the channel or what's on the TV of Kevin Nash's household? I mean, all the guy does is moan and bitch anyway, so that's up to him. If he doesn't want to watch ABC, if he doesn't want to watch Jimmy Kimmel anymore, then here, maybe go and watch Monday Night Raw. That's equally as shit. But let's talk a little bit about Hulk Hogan then. So Hulk Hogan got snubbed at the Emmys, and at the Emmys they did a in memoriam, and Hulk Hogan wasn't there, so why not? You know, Hulk Hogan, huge deal. He did get listed on the website, but in the memoriam, as part of the Emmy show, he did not get featured. Linda Hogan, his wife, came out and says that she can't prove it, but she believes it's because of his political associations, and so do I. I think she's 100% right. The Emmys is just a bunch of woke fucking nonsense, man. It's all liberal bullshit. Nobody that actually is putting in the best performances win at the Emmys. I mean, this year, the Penguins definitely should have won for the best, like, limited TV series, but they gave it to adolescents because they're trying to push this narrative, and they're trying to push their own agenda, and that's the whole reason that they did that, because they're trying to push a certain story with that series, and they wanted that to win. But nobody believes that Adolescence was better than the Penguin. Absolutely nobody. So, I mean, if Hulk Hogan spent the last few years of his life, you know, running and promoting Kamala Harris and saying he was going to run wild on Hulk Hogan and drop if he was going to run wild on Donald Trump and he was going to drop the leg on JD Vance, Hulk Hogan would be like considered an icon right now among the left. He'd be winning all the Emmys, but because he was a Trump guy, he doesn't even get a mention. You know, it's It is pathetic, but it is what it is, guys. Anyway, that's it. Catch you in the next one. Kevin Nash, nobody gives a shit what you're watching anymore. Go and cry about it. Till next time, peace.